Alright, here it is. This is my spoiler review of Spider-Man Far From Home. So, first of all, whoever's in charge of the naming of some of these things needs to be strapped to a board and shot with tennis balls. I mean, I'll be nice, they can have, a helmet and a cup, but everything else, like just a regular t-shirt and just shorts. That's all they get after that. Because the naming conventions in this are terrible, and it made me want to kill Ned a couple of times. First of all, the Blip is a bad name. Why don't they just call it the Snap? I mean, that's what we've been calling it for a year. And, I've heard people say, like, well, how would they know what happened? Captain America would have told them. I mean, in an Endgame, and in that round table when they were, still having survivors go 5 years later, they were saying, Captain America flat out said that we had to move on, otherwise Thanos might as well have killed all of us. So people know it was someone named Thanos who did this, and you think that he didn't, Captain America didn't tell him? Oh yeah, he snapped his fingers, and then all those people disappeared or were killed. Don't call it the Blip. It's a stupid name. And for a second of all, the Peter Tingle is a terrible name. I know Spidey Sense is kind of dumb too, but after a while we just got used to it, especially with the 90s cartoon. Constantly saying that Spidey Sense is tingling. But you could have called it the Tingle, or just I get a tingle, and okay, it's called Spidey, the Spider Sense is tingling, all that. You could have said that instead of calling it the Peter Tingle. Why even put his name in the damn thing? Then again, that's all out the window anyway, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, it's a bad name. And then, oh god, what Ned said. Oh, first of all, I was pissed off at Ned throughout the majority of this movie. Then they gave him a freaking crowbar. They gave him a crowbar with Betty Brant, and it's like, no. Oh, and the more they showed them, the more I was like, I want to punch you in the face. You're technically 21, and so I don't care. You should deserve to be punched. And so, yeah, it's Night Monkey. What the hell were they thinking? That's a stupid name. And they could have just called him Dusk, because that is a persona he had in the comics. It would have been a pretty deep cut, because it was in the late 90s when Spider-Man was not that popular, but it would have been an interesting cut for long-time readers of Spider-Man. And I know where they got that name from. It would have made sense. And for all the years that I've read Spider-Man, there's a long period where I didn't read it, and there's never anything that I read mentioned Night Monkey at all. It's a stupid ass name, and it's trying to be funny when you should not have tried to be funny in that sense. I know this is going to come across like I hated the movie, but I didn't. I just hated some of the naming conventions because they're so bad. Ugh. Yeah. I hate that. And then, of course, Ned, the whole crowbar scene. Oh, God. Let's move on to something positive, okay? Quentin Beck. Jake Gyllenhaal, he was great in this as Mysterio. And Quentin Beck seemed to be a lie in and of itself, because he says, well, when Peter gives him Edith and the glasses, which look pretty cool, and he just starts celebrating. He's like, now, is that so hard? Everything about Mysterio was BS. And I knew something was up. First of all, I know Mysterio from the comics and the cartoons, so I know he's full of crap. But they were playing out pretty well. Like, well, maybe he's not completely lying. Maybe he's not full of it. But I knew something was up, because when they're defeating the elementals, and they defeat the last one, I felt like, wait, this is way too soon. This movie barely looks like it's like halfway over, and I was right. But he was such a good con man, and so good at convincing people that what he was saying was real. And that's what Jake Gyllenhaal did so well, convincing. I'm from another universe and another world and my family and all this, and it was all BS, and he sold it perfectly. He did a great job on that, and he got people to believe him. It's enough that Spider-Man Peter Parker gave him Edith, and I liked that whole scene where he's like, "Cheers us! We pulled off a brilliant con, and we made Mysterio." And the whole he even said, because I just watched it a few days ago, he said the whole story of Quentin Beck and Mysterio, the alternate universe. So that made me think, wait a minute, Quentin Beck is also a lie. Just the name Quentin Beck is a lie. What's his real name? And that whole thing was really well done. And I like how they brought in technology we had seen in previous movies, like Civil War. My favorite of maybe Endgame is beating it, but that'll be enough for another day. Yeah, my favorite of the movies, the MCU so far, before I watched Endgame, it showed how he could have done this. Like, man, I can't believe I didn't think of that. I think nobody thought about that. They were just so fixated on, oh, maybe it is from another universe. That's what the trailers are showing us. And maybe he's actually a villain in that universe. He's bringing the elementals. We didn't think the whole thing was just BS and that there was no alternate universe. And that was very clever. I liked that a lot. And so they tricked us as much as they did the people in the theater, in the movie. So yeah, great job on that. And I have to talk about this scene. This is my favorite scene in the movie, where after he gets the glasses and Peter's in the dusk. I don't call it dusk. The dusk outfit. And by the way, that was a nice looking suit. I gotta curse to say this. So earmuff the kids for probably about 10 seconds or so. I'll wave it back in. Starting now, because holy shit, Mysterio just mind fucks Peter Parker for a good 3 to 4 minutes. Holy shit. Yeah, he is. That whole sequence, where the illusion sequence, is so good. And there's even a callback to Marvel, Easter egg to Marvel Zombies, all this stuff with what happened with Tony Stark in Endgame. That even his original costume that he made himself was so well done. That whole sequence was just so insane, and he just screws with Peter the entire time, and it's so well done. And man, I was starting like, what the, no, that's not real, is it? That's not real, is it? And it's so convincing that even when Peter gets that, and he calls Happy Hogan, and he comes to where he was, he didn't even know if it was really Happy. And I liked those, like, tell me something only you would know, which is a classic line that you would see in a movie like this, or even shapeshifters, or people pretending to be somebody else. It was very well done. And I liked the new suit that Peter made. It was very much a really good suit, and it felt natural that he would want to make it himself. He used Stark's tech, but it was his own design, which makes it so much better, I think, than something that Tony Stark gave to him that he was using. Very well done, and that whole final sequence is pretty fun to watch, with the action sequences and the this is comedy done right, I think, is when Happy, MJ, Betty, Ned, and Flash are in the little armory, and all of them are just giving confessions out. It's pretty funny, and I enjoy that with Happy saying, I don't know what Spider-Man's at. Just looking at him. I thought we were confessing. I thought that was funny. It was good. Jon Favreau is funny. He does the emotional moments well too, I thought. Now, let's get to what a lot of people have been talking about. After Quentin Beck gets killed, and I've heard some people say, like, well, probably not killed. No, I think he's dead. They showed the after credits scene. I don't care about. I really don't. I mean, I was not a fan of them showing that that Nick Fury and Maria Hill were actually Skrulls, because to me, the MCU has basically botched the Skrulls, so I'm not interested in seeing what they're doing with the Skrulls. They could have been the next big bad after Thanos, and they botched them, in my opinion. So I'm not looking forward to whatever they do with the Skrulls, whether it's in Captain Marvel or even in Guardians, if they do a third Guardians movie. I'm not interested. But let's get to the scene everybody's talking about, which is the return of J. Jonah Jameson. I may not like the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, but I will admit J.K. Simmons is a damn good J. Jonah Jameson. And I like him. Yeah, that's exactly what I've seen in the 90s comic, 90s cartoon, or even in the comics. He had the voice, the way he presents himself, and the way they kind of updated him, because Daily Bugle is not a newspaper anymore. It's kind of like a conspiratorial website, kind of like you see from I want to say it. Alright, you might want to earmuff the kids for this one for just a couple seconds. So for just like 3 seconds starting. 3, 2, 1. They're like assholes and dipshits like Glenn Beck, Alex Jones, or even Sean Hannity. So yeah, I like him being in that sort of persona, like you would see like an Alex Jones or a Glenn Beck, that kind of conspiratorial website. But then the big reveal, and again, this is how well Jake Gyllenhaal played Quentin Beck and his entire team that he has with him to make the Mysterio persona work, in that they basically framed Spider-Man for all the crap that happened in the movie, and they unmasked him right there. It's like, and when I first watched it, I was like, holy, what? I was shocked, even almost as shocked as Spider-Man was in the movie. I was like, you gotta be kidding, they did that? I can't believe they just did that. And so that kind of leaves the door open for a third Spider-Man movie, where I think this is where they can bring in Kraven the Hunter. And you could call it Spider-Man Hunted. That would be my suggestion for how to title Spider-Man Hunted. And so you can have him tracking down Spider-Man, aka Peter Parker. Maybe you even have scenes where people don't believe it's really Peter Parker. Maybe you have Flash Thompson say, no way you're Spider-Man. There's no way. I worship Spider-Man. There's no way it's you. Or maybe some people in his school or other people like, I should have known it was Spider-Man. I should have known he was Spider-Man. And it would be interesting to see how that dynamic plays out if and when they do a third Spider-Man movie. That's my opinion. And now let's get to the question I asked at the end of my non-spoiler review. I asked, do I recommend this movie? My answer was in another question. What do you want from this? I can tell you what I wanted. I wanted an epilogue to Endgame. And I wanted a good Spider-Man movie. As an epilogue to Endgame, it kind of fails. Because a lot of stuff that they do in Endgame, like the 5-year gap and people kind of adjusting to being back, was in and out. That was it. There was basically no talk about it. They mainly spend like a couple of minutes talking about it, and then they get into the Spider-Man movie. Now, as a Spider-Man movie, did I enjoy this movie? Yes, for the most part. Like the first third is slow, and I was not really a fan of it for the most part, because I was kind of hoping at least give me some epilogue to Endgame, and you didn't. And then you throw in a crowbar, and I was starting to get pissed. And then they felt like they were going to have 2 crowbars with Peter and MJ. But then by the halfway point of the movie, it started getting really good. And then that last half to about last third, I enjoyed quite a bit. And so, as a Spider-Man movie, I think it's good. It can't touch Into the Spider-Verse, but it's good, and I enjoyed it. So, if you want a good Spider-Man movie, you probably will like this one. If you want an epilogue to Endgame, you're probably not going to like this one, because it does a very bad job as an epilogue to Endgame. But if you want something that bridges the gap between the concluding chapter of this, I guess, era. I'm not going to phase. Is this era of MCU movies ending with Endgame, and then bridging it to the start of a next era, maybe with Peter Parker, Spider-Man, Falcon, and Valkyrie as the three main leads of the Avengers. I think the movie does a good job on that. For the most, yeah, I think it does a good job on that. It's a good bridge between Endgame and the next era, and I did like all the tributes to Tony Stark in the movie, because it makes sense that there would be a lot of tributes and that his shadow and his spirit loomed over the movie. So all in all, that's what I thought. Bad epilogue to Endgame, pretty good Spider-Man movie, and a good and a solid and even solid bridge between one era to another. That's what I thought. What do you think? And I know this part went on kind of long, but I think it needed to be. Did you like Spider-Man Far From Home? And do you think Kraven's going to be in the third movie? If not, who's going to be in it? Let me know what you think. Take care. Bye.